Crypto charging higher into the year end on approval hopes for spot Bitcoin ETFs and the promise of Fed rate cuts in 2024. Bitcoin is now trading above $43,000, a level we have not seen since April of 2022. It's now up more than 160% year to date. Joining us now to discuss is Fundstrat Global Advisors Vice President of Digital Asset Strategy, Sean Farrell. So, Sean, when you think about where crypto is now, you say now is an opportune time to be fully allocated in the market. That's a quote. What's the thesis behind that?
Yeah, first, thanks for having me. Right now we have this perfect concoction of both macro and industry specific tailwinds. Obviously everyone knows the dovish sentiments from the Fed a couple weeks ago, or last week rather, really put bears on their heels. Certainly suggested that inflation was tamed, and regardless of whether it is or not, it does seem like the worst of the tightening is behind us. And then from an industry specific setup, we have, obviously, as you alluded to, an ETF approval that is anticipated to come within a few weeks, which, I think should bring a new cohort of investors into the fold, increase flows into digital assets. And then we have the halving coming up at the end of Q1 into Q2. So there's really this, perfect storm of positive tailwinds heading into next year.
And Sean, just to emphasize that one point on that spot Bitcoin ETF, I'm interested to know whether, do you think that's a real, if and when we see that approval, maybe early next year, right? Do you see that's a real positive catalyst for Bitcoin? Because, the team at JP Morgan, it was interesting, Sean, I don't know if you saw this note, they were telling clients recently, they actually assigned a pretty high chance. They think that ultimately is kind of a sell the news moment, but I guess you disagree with that?
Yeah, look, it depends on your time frame, and we'll be watching closely to see how we trade into ETF approval. Because functionally speaking, even if the ETFs are approved, we think they'll be approved between January 8th and January 10th. Even if they're approved on those dates, you're not going to see any sizable inflows until those products launch. And so there certainly is a scenario in which you could have people front running the ETF news, and perhaps you have some, acute drawdown following actual approval. But I think we're telling clients it's probably not worth trading around too cute of a manner, just because we think any consolidation post ETF approval is going to be short-lived.
So, Sean, I want to ask you about FTX in particular. There have been some new headlines about FTX and just investors cashing in around it. And, originally that kind of led to the crypto winter. What does that picture look like now?
Well, the FTX news is rather positive in terms of it seems like creditors are going to be made whole. This is on or at least close to it. And obviously this is on a dollarized basis, so they will not be receiving, their pro rata portion of the value of the crypto assets that they had, on the exchange. But I think it's a positive sign that, as an industry, we've cleared out a lot of the, malicious actors, and, a lot of more sophisticated players have come in to provide, better centralized infrastructure. And, I don't think that we're going to have another FTX scenario happen again. So it's a positive.
And Sean, I want to get you out of here on this. Let's say, Sean, I'm listening to this interview. I agree with Sean Farrell. He's making a ton of sense. I'm bullish on crypto in 2024. Where should you be investing, Sean? Where do you think people should be committing capital in the space?
Yeah. So obviously, it goes without saying, Bitcoin is a pretty great place to be. We're very excited about where miners are at right now. We think they offer pretty interesting beta to Bitcoin heading into next year. A lot of them are well capitalized, after, a lot of, they issued a lot of equity last year to shore up their balance sheets. And as a result, actually underperformed this year by and large. But a lot of them are well capitalized, and there's a lot of interesting stuff happening within the Bitcoin economy. There's been a lot of activity with inscriptions, ordinals, an appetite to build a layer 2 ecosystem atop Bitcoin, and as a result, that's created a lot of fee pressure on the Bitcoin network. And this has been a windfall for miners, and I think a lot of analysts on the street are going to start to price that into a lot of their outlooks for miners, and we're going to see them really benefit in the coming 12 months.
Fundstrat Global Advisors Vice President Farrell. Sean, thank you so much for joining the show today. Appreciate that insight.
Thanks for having me.